I finished the main storyline of Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced and played over 50 hours so far, so I'm going to share some of the best gear, weapons, trinkets and ship upgrades I unlock sooner rather than later, because getting these early makes the game feel a lot more fun, a lot less grindy. No spoilers in this video of course, and let's get started with managing expectations first, because the single biggest early game tip I can give you is to get to your pirate hideout in sequence 4 before you spend any of your in-game cash at the vendors, and that's because until you do unlock the hideout, most of what you can buy from the general store is overpriced garbage and not worth your gold. And as you may expect, the hideout is where your proper upgrade path and about 90% of the game's mechanics actually opens up to you. So enjoy the storyline for about 4 to 5 hours and save your swag and your loot until you can actually spend it on something decent. And I'm speaking from experience here. Now, once you unlock the hideout, you want to grab the tavern first, as it's dirt cheap at 100 gold coins, and that allows you to turn on these convoy tips, which means those juicy convoy ships stuffed with gold spawn very frequently on your map, which is an easy 2-minute nuke job when you head out of your dock on a mission. After that, upgrade your general store to tier 2 for 3,000 gold, because tier 2 opens up the better rare gear available for you to purchase, and tier 3 is where the legendary items with those game-changing perks start appearing in your game. More on that shortly. Now, just as important is the harbourmaster and getting it to tier 2, because every major jackdaw upgrade is gated behind these tier upgrades. So getting it to that tier 2 for 2,500 gold is what lets you unlock the mortars that clear ships and forts quickly early on in the game. And while you're at it, a quick win, go and clear the Dry Tortuga fort, because it gives you the automatic double shot upgrade for your jackdaws. So this allows you to shoot at ships in front of you with the double chain shot here to take down their mask and pretty much bring them to a full stop. This also opens up the fleet mechanic in your ship's cabin, so you can start capturing your own ships and sending them out for income on their missions. And you can actually do some of this before you even reach the hideout if you fancy. But the general store and the harbourmaster are the two critical buildings to focus on early on, because once your store hits level 2, you can pick up one of the best rare weapons in the game. So let's go through that right now. And that's the rare officer's rapiers, which will set you back 8,500 gold from the general store. And it's superb because it bumps your takedown chain from 2 up to 4, so you can trigger a chain takedown on the first enemy you meet and pretty much wipe the whole group almost instantly. It makes fights more fun and controllable is what I'm trying to say, and it gets used to the mechanics sooner rather than later. Now, if you haven't got 8,500 gold yet, well, the French dress swords are a solid temporary filler purely for the extra damage here. But if you have pre-ordered the game, or you've got enough helix keys to spend in the exchange, take advantage of the swords that you can currently equip there, because Naoe Shadowblade lets you perform 4 chain takedowns and increases your perfect parry and perfect dodge chance, making combat a little bit more forgiving for you. And then you've got Ezio's sword, which lets you perfect parry those red unstoppable attacks from the big boy brutes, which is very helpful. The trade-off being that you're capped at a 3 enemy takedown chain compared to the 4, though the trinkets can buff that, which we'll go through shortly. So if you do have access to these, pick whatever one you prefer really. But one thing I have found across the board, no matter what perk that you've got equipped, is that the blue parry cue, you know, that kind of little tint there when an enemy is about to attack you, well, it kind of lags after the attack. So I found that instead of waiting to see the blue tint, I've started parrying the moment that you actually see an enemy move towards you with an attack, and I found that parries will land far more consistently by doing so. Maybe they'll patch it in the future, but I found that to be more successful as a mental cue to remember. And by the way, if you're finding these tips useful so far, please do leave a very swift like or hype down below. It only takes 2 seconds of your time, helps me out against all of this AI slop floating around right now. I'm sure you're familiar with it, so thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. Now, for pistols, you can grab the Captain's Wheellock pistols for free from the underwater chest if you dive off the sync point at your hideout. They've only got a 20 range and a 1.5 second draw speed, so it's not amazing compared to other pistols, but certainly a decent upgrade from the ones that you begin with until you can afford better. That said, if you do have 5,500 gold, buy the Spanish officer pistols from your newly upgraded general store, because they, of course, up your damage and they shorten the time it takes Edward to fire, as you can see here. Then, as soon as you move into the mid-game, I'd upgrade the general store to tier 3, or if you can do it sooner, then do it, and pick up the Golden Flintlock Pistols, because their perk briefly slows time on nearby enemies every time you get a kill, which is brilliant if you've upgraded Edward to carry 4 pistols. And in fact, you can do that in the crafting menu hidden in your infantry here. Now, the first upgrades for your holsters requires 2 Ocelot pelts from the main story or Abaco Island here on your map. Next, you'll need 2 rabbit pelts, which I found easily outside or just in the bushes of Nassau. And then you'll need 4 whale skins from hunting bull sharks up in the north harpooning region here. I'll just mark this on your map. That's where I got mine. And it takes around 10 to 15 minutes of work for a increase in pistol damage that carries you basically for the rest of the game. So it's very much worth doing. And Edward also looks really cool when you unload all 4 pistols in one go. Now, another thing you need to get early on is trinkets. They're not to be ignored either. So let's go through ones that you should definitely grab sooner rather than later. Now, once you reach Havana in Sequence 2, you'll be able to equip trinkets, which carry perks that change how the game plays and feels for you, and complements your weapon and other pistol perks in combat. Now, in the early game, money is going to be your biggest blocker for almost everything worth having, so I would recommend that you pick up the Lodestone trinket for 7,000 gold from the general store once you've got it to tier 2, because it automatically loots corpses and random little bits of loot, or what the game calls curios, dotted around the world when you are near them. I'd also combine that with the found coin trinket, which increases the reals you earn from looting everything around the world from 15 to 25% when we tested it, actually. So that is really big. It compounds a lot over time, over the course of 30 to 40 hours in this game. So certainly worth equipping both of these. And to get it, you actually need to collect 8 art pieces from looted warehouses or in the captain's lockbox on ships when you board them. And then what you'll need to do is hand them to the butler at your hideout. And in fact, you need to check your inventory because you may already have 8 of these decorations sitting under your art collection right now, like I have here. So yeah, definitely worth checking. Now, if you do want to lean into combat early, I'd really recommend that you grab the Lock of Hair trinket, which you can earn from the first rift that spawns after you unlock the hideout, and it takes around 20 minutes of your time to complete. It gives you health back after a perfect parry, which is solid for you guys who want to play it on higher difficulties. And if you pair it with the Rabbit's Foot trinket, that gives you a higher chance to stagger or push an enemy back after a parry, as you can see here. So you're getting health and a bit of breathing room every time you parry correctly and cleanly. It's definitely worth it early on, and that one comes from the Templar hunt quest Opia Apito, which also pops after the hideout unlocks as well. So you've got options there, but what about your ship? Because a lot of these upgrades start getting very expensive very quickly. So as I've mentioned, once your harbourmaster is at tier 2 and you've cleared the Dry Tortuga fort to collect your double shot upgrade, and you've also unlocked your mortars for 800 gold, you've got a solid start here. Now from there, I'd focus on hull upgrades first because you're increasing your health essentially. Then broadside cannons to fire more cannonballs per volley, so increasing your damage, and the round and heated shot upgrades to push the damage even higher. So in short, you're firing more cannonballs, you're doing more damage with each one, and you're allowing yourself to take more punishment from forts and stronger ships because you've got more health. Now once those 3 or 4 levels deep, those dots you can see here by the way, start investing or topping up your mortars, your swivel guns, unlocking your ram, so you kind of round out your ship a little bit more and make it more effective on the whole. Now there are 2 more quick wins with your ship that put you in the best possible spot heading into the mid and late game, so let's go through those right now. And that's starting the 2 new officer side quests for Lucy and Padre as soon as the hideout unlocks as well, because you don't need to finish each officer's full storyline. You just need to complete the opening quest of each one, which takes around 20 minutes or so, and that's enough for them to join your crew and hand you 2 really solid ship upgrades. Lucy gives you what might be the most overpowered buff for naval fights. It's called Perfect Brace, which negates around 99% of incoming damage if you brace just before you get hit. And then you've got Padre, who gives you the Ram Dash, which lets you charge your ship straight into enemies, so it's well worth grabbing them once you've recruited them. And I'd say for 30 or 45 minutes worth of work to get these kind of upgrades early, it's definitely worth your time. And you can always come back and finish their stories later on if you're on a bit of a upgrade grind or you're farming for materials out on the high seas. But there's one final thing that I think you should grab early, and that's one of these new recruitable pets that sits next to you as you sail around in your ship. So let me show you how to get all of them. And you'll be pleased to know that to get Soot the cat, you just need to head to the back of your hideout here on your map if you haven't already done so, hop up to give him a stroke, and from there you can equip him in your inventory, and then he will meow at you angrily until he gets a pet on your deck. Now, as for Albert the monkey, you want to head back to Havana and look for a local event called Monkey Business down in the harbour here on your map. You'll need to swim out to the boat, you'll need to kill the guards who are holding him hostage, and then he will very graciously and very happily join you on the jackdaw. Now, I've made another helpful video like this with even more tips and tricks, so give that a click on your screen or TV right now so you can get even more out of this awesome game, and hopefully I'll see you there in a second. My thanks to Nika for helping me grind out this game in early access for you. I think rum is on her, and I will see you on that next video in just a second.